Shalom, shalom. All right, first and foremost, I would like to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shah, Bahashem Kakwadash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples towards younger brothers. And peace and blessings, salutations to the hopeful elect out there pushing his word in truth and in sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shah, pushing to come up out of here. All right, pushing to get up out of here, man. You know, peace and blessing salutations to the hopeful elect who have came back to the obedience of the scriptures, all right, through the hearing of the gospel, okay, the teaching of Yahweh Shai, all right, the teaching of righteousness, all right, according to the holy scriptures, you know. So what I want to get into today, you know, is being legacy minded, all right, being legacy minded. And this was inspired, all right, that beautiful word. But yeah, this was inspired, you know, last weekend, my wife's grandmother had met, and we went to the funeral. And you know, at the funeral, you have people that come up, you know, and speak, you know, on your behalf, you know. And when it was time for people to speak, you know, with my wife's grandmother, and people were coming up, you know, with their, you know, the testimonies, you know, going into my wife's grandmother. And one thing about it, what I noticed is that my wife's grandmother had left behind a legacy. You know, she left a legacy based on how she lived. You know, because when you go into people's testimonials dealing with my wife's grandmother, you know, they would always speak about how she was a fighter and she never showed any emotion. Like even the word stoic, you know, they talked about, you know, how she was stoic, you know, how she, you know, raised, you know, she babysitted a lot of children, okay, which are now, you know, in high school or adults now, okay. And she will also take care, you know, even the children's parents, you know, the children would be fed, you know, while the parents was at work. And then when the parents got home, you know, she would have, you know, a dinner for them, you know, so they wouldn't, you know, have to cook. They would have a dinner as well, you know. And people kept coming up and they just spoke about, you know, the resilience that she had. And even, you know, the pastor of the church was, you know, the pastor was off, you know, but he spoke highly on how, you know, she was always the one in the background, you know, making a lot of things happen, you know, at the church. Like if it wasn't for her, you know, that the church wouldn't be as far as long as it was. And which we know the church is off, you know. But you know, our people, a lot of our people, you know, they sincerely, you know, think, you know, that they're serving, you know, the um the right doctrine. You know, some of our people, especially that generation, you know, they sincerely locked in, you know, and they did have a love, you know, for the community, you know. But nevertheless, um, and as they're saying these things, you know, about my wife's grandmother, it got me thinking about legacy because once, you know, you know, once, you know, if something was to happen to either one of us, the only thing would be left behind is who we were, what type of legacy, you know, that we left behind. And one thing about it, you know, my personal testimony with my wife's grandmother, you know, is that she never, you know, complained. You know, that's why, you know, I love that generation, you know, grandmothers, great grandmothers. You know, I can sit around and listen to them tell stories, you know, all day, you know, because they really had to endure hardships. And what you see is it built them to a particular way to where they didn't make excuses. They just got done what needed to be done. They didn't have a mindset to make excuses when it came to responsibility, you know, because the things that they did, like the spirit came out on the line, in the spirit, you think about, the grandparents, that pretty much, if it wasn't for the grandparents, the generation now, us, it would have been hard, man. It would have been way harder, man, without the grandparents, man, because I know I've had to live with both sets, of my grandparents, you know. I had to live with both of them. My mama, she wasn't, able, to, take care of me, my younger years, she wasn't, situated at the time. And then there was a lot of people that was in way worse situations than that, when you had the gang era, when you had the crack epidemic, a lot of people, were forced, a lot of grandparents were forced to take in their children's children, you know, and they knew what had to be done. And that's why you see grandparents, they are very adamant when it came to discipline and nourishment of the child because they was thinking long term. They was thinking legacy, they was legacy minded, you see. So a lot of the grandparents, stepped in because they understood, okay, well, the parent is pretty much gone, okay, but there's still hope for the child, all right. And they were doing those things in hopes that the child, would become a much better version of their parents, okay. They were thinking legacy minded. And one thing about it, in this society, we live in a society that's so weak, okay, that teach you, it's okay to give up. It's okay if you fall short. But really, even if you fall short, okay, it should be a lesson for you to get it right next time. But this society, you know, rewards attempts, but really, it should reward achievements, you know? And this society has pampered the masses to make excuses for everything, man. And that's what weak men do. Weak people do. They make excuses, excuse after excuse, you know, to the point to where you make so many excuses. Now you're a goddamn loser, man. Okay. Now your situation in chaos because of all these excuses, man. Nah, hey, you gotta make adjustments, man. You know, one thing about, is I've been studying, just watching research, dealing with these different generals and different kings and different conquerors. One thing about it is you notice that they all had in common is that it was always a moment that switched in them to where it became about legacy. You see, it was a moment as they was on their come up, and they would win their first battle, okay, or they would, replace the current king, become king. All right, they would take a certain city, they would conquer a certain, area or region, and then a switch hit, and it became about legacy. And every decision that they made from there forth was about legacy. You see, when we become legacy minded, excuses begin not to exist. You can't afford excuses. when you when we're building the legacy, when your mindset is based on legacy, you can't afford excuses. Okay, we can't excuses. All right, disrupt legacy. You know, you gotta think about it. Like you see these great men that have great names, they all went against the odds. They all had to make adjustments on the fly. You know, I'm not gonna get all into it. Cause I know I can get nerdy. Talking about their history, but when you go into these different generals, these different kings, you know, the one common thing that I always notice is that they would have to make adjustments on the fly when all eyes was against them. You know, they would have to do things that people wouldn't even consider doing. You know, they couldn't afford to make excuses in the middle of the battle. You know, they got more men than we do. They got more arrows than we got. They got more horsemen than we got. We ain't ate in 2 days. See, when you going for legacy, you can't have excuses, man. You see, when you going for legacy, yeah, ain't no excuses can't exist. You gotta make the adjustment. You see? And this is where we're at, man. Like we're building legacy. Like each brother, okay, that's gonna be a joint heir with Yahushua. There's gonna be a story attached to that brother. The things that he overcame, the odds he faced, you know, how he dealt with adversity. You see? Like we building a legacy, man, and we have to, because like I say, once, you know, if something were to happen to any of us, what will we have? We will only have our body of work. That's it. You only have, we will only have our body of work and what we contributed, you know, each brother according to their portion. You see, on camera and off camera. That's all we're going to have, you know. So when we start to think legacy minded, you know, it creates a different type of drive. Like those certain men, you know, King David, he why he had a different drive. King Solomon, he prayed for wisdom, okay, because he understood that he was coming behind his father, okay, King David. He had some big shoes to fill. He understood the legacy of his father, so he was like, Shh, I need wisdom, you know, so I can maneuver because King David moved in wisdom. King David, hey, King David maneuvered, he ran his kingdom through wisdom. Even when he fought Goliath, you know, it was all through the power of Yahweh Bashem Al Shai. But when King David, when he took off, you know, all of King Saul's armor, okay, and he decided to fight with the slingshot, okay, because he was familiar with the slingshot, and also he can fight with the slingshot from a distance. You see, that was a strategy that King David used when he fought Goliath. He like, if I have all this armor, I can't move, okay, and I gotta get up close on this big nigga. Like, nah, take this shit off. Give me the slingshot and them rocks, okay, which that's them rocks represent Yahweh Shai, okay. So he was able to be agile, you know, and that first rock sunk in Goliath's head, but he had five. So if he missed, he could have still stayed on the outside, you know, and just had an onslaught of slingshots. I mean, of them rocks, man. You know, King David operated in wisdom. You know, when he played like he was a madman, all right. When he played like he was a madman, you know, for the amongst the Philistines, okay, to get out that situation, like King David was operating in wisdom, man. You see, he created, yeah, that legacy. You know, he utilized wisdom, okay, and he made adjustments on the fly. You see, King David, he couldn't afford to, you know, have no excuses, man. You know, he had to make adjustments, man. When he was on the run from Saul, he had to make adjustment. He was on the run from Saul over 10 years. You see, he had to keep making these adjustments on the fly. You see, his greatness, greatness comes from being able to make adjustments in adversity, man. Okay, it's easy, you know, to appear to be great when everything is going your way. You know, it's easy to put on the facade, you know, like you're great when everything is going your way, or you haven't met any real competition, man. Okay, you see, that's why, you know, even like I say, King Solomon, what did he pray for that wisdom? Because he knew the legacy that he was coming behind, man. That was a lot of pressure, man. I need wisdom, you know, to judge Israel, you know, to move. You know, he seen like he seen his father move. He seen like King Solomon seen a lot of things that King David did that we don't even know about. Okay, he heard stories of his father because you know how
you know, how people talk. You know how Jake talk, especially about your father. You know, you get around your older cousins and uncles. You know, they tell you about, your father. So King Solomon, you knew he knew certain things about his father, King David. Like shit, I'm gonna come behind it. you know, you see. So when you're legacy minded, excuses leave because they're useless. What is an excuse? Excuse is a hold up. No, it's about like one thing about it. When men that are legacy minded, once they get on the road, once they start conquering, like now another switch hit because it goes from okay, they start off and they win a battle, and then it's like okay, this is about legacy, and then once they get on the road, they mindset kick into shit, anything possible. Shit, I can do anything. When you read about the things that even Alexander was doing, okay, it's like this nigga here is crazy, man. You know, like this nigga, he pulled it off. You see, that's because he had a mind and the spirit was on him for prophecy's sake because him being that leopard, in the book of Daniel, there's a certain spirit on him, to where he felt like he can do anything. King David, hey, he felt like he can do anything. Okay, you go these different conquerors, the Maccabean, you know, revolt. All right, Judas Maccabean. Okay, and his brothers, man, he got to a point when they won a couple battles, they felt like they could do anything. Okay, and that's how it is, man. Like when you start conquering and achieving, you know, the Lord start putting that spirit on you, like you can do anything, man. You know, I say, "The bird's beautiful. We're gonna get the earth back, man." you know, but the Lord put the spirit on you, like you can do anything and go into Jacob's trouble. We had to have that mindset, like, through Yahweh by Shema Shah, we can do anything, man. you know, like I say, this is our last chance to create a legacy. Brothers that's out here in the trenches in the front line, man, this is our last chance to create legacy, man. You know, and like I say, when you're legacy minded, excuses, hey, they got to hit the back door. And we all, go through down times and weak points, okay? But that's really, when we got to be our most ferocious, when we at the weak point, that's when we need to really get in attack mode, man. Okay? Because if we can fight when we weak, we damn sure can fight when we strong. you see? So let's say weak men make excuses, man. Okay? Excuses about every goddamn thing. All right? And then it comes to a point when you're serving someone, you know, let's say you are a Marine, you're a Marine in the military and you go on a mission and you come back, mission not complete with excuses. Then you go on another mission not complete, excuses. It get to a point where like, well, goddamn, why are you even here? It get to the point where goddamn, because hey, one thing about it, eventually the superior gets fed up with excuses, man. It's like goddamn, okay, you might get a little leniency then after a while, it's like goddamn, what's the point? They're like a sorry woman. She got an excuse of why she can't cook, an excuse of why she can't clean. Then it get to the point like, well, goddamn, you know, I'm missing the point. you see? So that's how we are, hey, as men of Yahweh Shema Shai, you know, we don't want to always report back with an excuse, man. Because really, Yahweh Shema Shai don't want to hear that shit, man. Yahweh Shai don't want to hear that shit. That's why he told the man, that slothful servant that he gave the talent to, he came with the excuses. I knew that I was a austere man, you know, and y'all, and you reap what you have not sown, you know. So I just made sure you still had something, nigga making excuses, man. And he was like, you wicked ass nigga, man. You know? You see? And he sends that nigga to the nukes. Okay? For this time, man. Men that fall into their lot, man, and we don't want to fall into their lot, you know, of always having an excuse, and niggas have mastered one thing niggas have mastered, you know, in this society is complaining and having an excuse. Nigga have a full clip of excuses, man. You know? You ask Jake about the business, man. Nigga have a full clip of goddamn excuses, man. And we can't control every scenario. It's gonna be things that's out of our control that, you know, hey, it happens. Some things happen, because we can't control everything. The Lord will set it up to where, things will just be out of our hand and we can't accomplish something. Because at the end of the day, it's all the will of the Lord. It has to be ordained in the heavens, before, we can achieve it or accomplish it, man. Okay? But we don't want to be the ones that hold ourselves back, man. Elder Hobb said something, that stuck with me. And he was like, when you pretty much, like making moves, you got to go for it and kind of let the Most High say no, because if it's not meant, it's not going to happen, because even, you know, Alexander, okay, he was trying to go into Pakistan. Niggas all in India, but his military, pretty much, they just shut down on. They were like, good grief, nigga. Like nigga, you see on the movie, the Alexander movie. It's a pretty good movie. If brothers want to watch it. It's about 3 hours. It's a pretty good history piece. You brothers that's into that history. But yeah, man, it showed them. They was all in the jungle. With the gorillas and apes and like this. The military, like nigga, shit, you got everything, like nigga. You know. But it wasn't meant for him to go that far. But he had, he just had that drive because the spirit was on him. The Lord just put a conquering spirit on him. You know, and he was wise in battle too. The way that he commanded his military, he was wise in battle. You know, the Lord put a brave spirit on him. Like Alexander was in the trenches. Like he was in the trenches with the shit. King David, them boys in the trenches, man. Even Julius Caesar was in the trenches. You know, Vespasian. You go to his story. Okay, them boys in the trenches, man. You see, they were front line with it. They became these great men. That's why they were so well respected, man. That's why King David had those men that was loyal. To when he had to flee from Absalom, man. Hey, they rolled with the king. They left the palace. They got back in the trenches, man. You see, because they were built like that. You know, and that's another thing, man. When you in the trenches toiling, you become built a certain way. You see, going back to the grandparents, man. Like hey, if you got grandparents, man, you cherish them. You know, cause that's the last of that type. This soft ass shit that Esau done produced today. You know, this shit here, this shit, that's it. Like that's the last of that cloth. And that's why I say I like to be around them because, I'm glad I was raised, in them circumstances, man. you know, like your granddad didn't get that shit, man. You know, and grandma was right with him. They ain't get that shit, man. It's soft ass excuses and shit, man. Like, cause they came from an era of shit. Every penny counted. You know, you couldn't be dragging your feet. Hell no. Oh well, you shit. You know, but now that we have the truth and we fully understand the legacy that we're attached to. Now, we should be more legacy minded than ever, man. And we already got the victory, man. And the Lord pretty much gave us a grace period to really just get it in. Like this the grace period where the Lord is just allowing us to get it in. We have all the conveniences and everything that we need at our fingertips to where we can just get it in. you know, like I say, just really push, man, off camera. You know, you really, brothers that do a lot of, things off camera to make, things on camera flow smoothly, man. You know? So yeah, man, I just wanted to put that out there. You know, something I was thinking about, like I said, when I left that funeral, that was on my mind. My wife's grandmother, she pretty much had a legacy of being a nourisher. Which a lot of our grandmothers, great aunties, they have their legacy of being those great nurturers. And that's a beautiful legacy, for a woman, to be a nourisher, man. To be known as that nurturer, you know, because anything outside of it really vain, you know. So Lord will you brothers and you few sisters edified. So the next time I say Shalom, all praise on the glory to you. How about your mouth? Shah, Abab, DTA soon. Shalom.